All right. Thank you for checking out this video. Once again, my name is CatonDaBack, and this is a new updates on the game called Super Baby. That it's a project that I am reworking on and trying to get working for, get to a full release or full stable version. Um, Once again, before I go into an update, if you like the content that I'm putting out, please go ahead and subscribe to the video. Also hit that bell notification so that you're notified of any new updates to this project or any other project I'm working on, and also any trailers that I put out of any new games that I'm putting out. Then you'll be notified right away. All right. So pretty much this is the so far in the previous one, in the previous video, we went ahead, we updated. I showed you that we added a state machine for the player. We added we basically gave the player his own, um, gave the player their own, event sheet. So that's their own code, their own coding section. And also we separated, the boss out, the enemies out, and everything of the sorts. And everything's basically just doing a lot of cleanup work, right? Because this game was a prototype that was made I think last year or a couple years ago, and it was just basically a coding nightmare. Um, just when I just looked at it, when I looked at it just last week. All right, so now um, what updates were done? All right, so in this particular video, the main update that was done, we went ahead and we added the enemies. We went into the enemies. We did a lot of things to the enemies, reworked the enemies. Now the enemies, what they do, we have two different types of enemies. So if I were to go to, let me go to my families, to my enemies. Right here in this section, we have two different types of enemies. We got shooter AIs and we got non-shooter AIs. And each one does their own thing. So what we did was, well, what I did was, I went ahead and I added a shooter AI. If an AI is not shooting, pretty much just go ahead and be the basic dummy AI that just walks back and forth. Um, Actually, I just thought about it, we have three type of AIs, but pretty much plain and simple. If it's not a shooter AI, just go ahead and walk back and forth. That's all it does. If you are the shooter AI, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some things. First, we want to check a few things. First, we want to check if we're moving or not moving, because whether we're moving or not moving determines what action do we take moving forward. So, for example, so right here, we're doing that here. Are we left facing or right facing? Well, are we moving or not moving? And then also, are we facing left and moving, and are we facing right and moving? And then also, this is another thing where I'm checking. I'm checking whether the enemy is wandering or they're waiting, which means that is he standing still or is he walking around? Because I wanted to make sure that I wanted to have it so that the shooter AI is able to have two different types of characteristics. I want to have two different types of shooting AIs that shoot. I want to have a enemy that's stationary, and then when the player comes within a certain distance, he fires at the player, and then I want to have another one where he's just walking around, just walking back and forth. And then when the player gets within a certain distance, then he turns around and starts shooting in the player's direction. That's pretty much the functionality that we're going with this. And then we check in a few things. First, we check in our distance between the player. I just said what the enemy's going to be doing and what he's going to be checking for. He's going to be checking for the player's distance. So I made a distance variable and checking for the enemy's X position, and the player's X position, and just making sure of a few things. One, is the player plus 800 pixels away? If so, then check the next thing. Are we waiting? Basically, are we stationary? If so, and we're not moving, then we want to change, because I have three different modes. I have a wander mode, I have a wait mode, and I have attack mode. And so in wait mode, the enemy is just standing still. So he's just basically standing stationary. I'm gonna comment all this stuff out, but yeah, he's just standing still. Then if he's wandering, if he's if it's 800 pixels plus and he's set to wandering and he's moving, then we just want you to wander, which just means he just basically just walks back and forth. He just basically walks back and forth because the player is above 800 pixels. Basically, I don't see you at that moment. I don't see you. That's pretty much how we're doing this. All right. So now we're going into if the enemy detects the player. So if the player is less than equal to 800 pixels, then we go into attack mode. All right. So that's when we're going to start shooting at the player. So let's go into what each mode does. So I'm basically set that up right here. Well, I'm basically saying, okay, if a mode is equal to attack, then we want to basically, and he's in our line of sight. If the player's within our line of sight, which is basically within 800 pixels, we want to go ahead and set this. We want to set we see player to true. And basically what the cone object is, pretty much it just sets a cone and basically the direction he's looking into. Can he see the player within, I think it's 360, 360. Um, I forgot how the cone works within Construct. It left my brain right now, but I'm just going to continue on. So once we see the player, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna check because we want the player to be able to shoot, right? Because he can shoot. It's already enabled. So if he sees the player, all right, and can shoot is true, and he's minus equal, and he's less than 800 pixels. We just want to make sure of that. Then we want to make sure that can we take aim? Yes or no? Can we take aim? Because if can't, well, take aim pretty much just basically lets him know when he could fire. But if it's not, if take aim is not equal to true, and he sees player and he's less than 800 pixels, less than 800, less than equal to 180, 80 pixels, 800 pixels, then turn take aim to true. Then what we do, then after that, once take aim is equal to true, we want to check to see can we shoot again. So this is basically just the number of bullets that the many times I'm allowing him to fire. So if can shoot again is more than zero, if it's more than zero, then we're gonna go ahead and set the state to shoot. If it's equal to zero, then we're gonna go ahead and set it to false. And then if it's less than equal to zero, actually less than equal to zero, it's going to be equal to false. Actually, I don't know why I was pretty redundant there. We're going to set this to false. And then if it can shoot, it's equal to false. And if can shoot again is equal to zero, because that means all your bullets are gone. So we want to wait. We want to go back to wait mode. And then I'm going to go ahead and set can shoot to false. I'm going to reload the can shoot again, basically reload them bullets to back to 3. And then we're going to wait 4 seconds. And then we're going to set can shoot. And then we're going to shoot again. Basically, that's what the enemy does. That's what the AI is going to do. He's basically going to shoot again after that. Then pretty much you kind of know the gist of it. The rest of it is just pretty self-explanatory. We're going to go into a wait mode. If it's plus 800 pixels. If 800 plus, if it's plus more than 800 pixels, then we're gonna go and if it's set to waiting and not wandering, then we're gonna go back to wait. If it's plus 800 and going to and not waiting but it's wandering, then we're gonna go into wandering mode, and then we just get the different modes right here. Where if mode is equal wander, go to walk. If mode is wait mode, go to idle. And then basically just got to, so if we're shooting, if the player is shooting at the enemy, if the enemy is shooting at the player, we want the enemy to face the direction of the player, because sometimes what happens is ran into an issue while I was testing where the player was within distance, but the enemy was facing the opposite direction. So I want him to turn in the direction of the player and fire again. So that's pretty much it. That's everything that we set up. We added a state machine for our players, for our enemy as well, and then also we set up the projectiles for our enemy, and then lastly, right here, which I like, I set all the different AIs and what they do. Because we got the shooter AI if he's waiting, we got the shooter AI if he's wandering, We got if he's not he's not shooting, and then we got another one called flying, which is for the bird AIs, which they pretty much they're just another dummy AI. Where, for example, if that AI is enabled, the bird just basically flies back and forth on the map, and that's pretty much it. All right, so I know that was a mouthful of everything that was done. The next thing that was done was the camera. We add the camera to it. Um, and the camera pretty much and we're gonna show it. I'm getting ready to show everything shortly. I'm just basically going over a few things. And we got the camera. We got the camera right here, and the camera just basically just follows the player and it just stays invisible. And what I did was when I go into my my test level, what I did was, and I'm just using the background just for just for like just to look at it. All right, so I'm going to basically remove this for right now, and I'm going to basically add a enemy onto here. Actually, for yeah, well first let me go. Like I said, the camera just following the player, but the player, what I did in the test level. Now I actually got a brain fart for a second, but I now remember what I was going to say. All right, so in the test level, I got this. I created a camera layout, and I made that global because I want to be able to have it so that all I gotta do is type in. I want this to be this camera layout and the properties within it and the objects within it to be carried over. So the only thing that should be that should be in this layout is the camera itself. I have one for the fader as well, and which I'm getting ready to cover shortly, and also for debugging purposes. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and test the enemies out. I'm going to show you the different enemy types. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a enemy block down for us. I don't know why it was so big. All right, so we're gonna put that here, and then we're gonna do. I'm gonna put in first my uh my shooter AI, which is this little hedgehog thing, and I'm gonna basically make him a little bit smaller. That's one thing I gotta do with all the players. I'm gonna make two of them. Now this one I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna set his. Ooh, I made a wrong move. Put these into the yeah. All right. So we accidentally put him in the wrong layout. But I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna take him and I'm gonna put him into make him. I'm going to do this one as wandering. Set this one to wander. Set him to AI. Set him to shoot. And he's going to be facing. I'm going to actually. Yeah, I'm going to let him face left. And in this case, he's going to be walking. And I'm going to set his can shoot again to 3. Well, it should be set up. It'll set up automatically to how I set the script up. And this one, I will set him to is wandering. I think this one I put. No, this one I made wandering. Yeah, it's wandering. This one, then I'll go ahead and set this one to is waiting. And let's wait, shooter AI, and that's about it. And also this one too. I forgot one thing. And make sure that he's moving. Is moving. Right. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna look at both of these enemies in action. I should have put this a little bit close, but should have put with the everything a little bit closer in. But we're about to see this shortly. All right, so okay, well we see that our first enemy, our waiting enemy is good to go, is working fine. But for some reason our other one is not walking. But I'm going and kill this one. Okay, for some reason my player is not moving backwards. I don't know why, but I'll be fixing that I'll be fixing that once we finish this video. But let's see, why wasn't he moving? So let's see. So shooting AI, so to walk, wander mode. Not sure why he wasn't moving. It's funny how this happened, right, man? We're testing. All right, so well, that makes sense. He's not moving at all. All right, now let's go ahead and run it. There you go. All right, so now, all right, so you see they started shooting, and you see the difference between the two players, right? Go ahead. And you see the difference between the two enemies, that they both were one was able to be stationary and shooting, the other one was basically walking around and then he shoots. And that's exactly what we want. And it detected that our player was within 800 pixels, so they went ahead and took fire at the player, which is what I wanted. So that's shows that that's mission accomplished on that one. I can fix the player. I don't know why the player sat there and was playing like that. I'm not sure why. Okay, so press left and left. I'll check that later on. Other than the last thing that we added to this was the camera. Well, we already showed the camera. Was the transition effects. This is one that took me quite a while to do. Because I had to not only make it better than it was in the other game, Ninja Go Home, but I wanted to, add a little bit more to it. In this particular case, I added a few things. This is the checkpoint system right here. And also, you know what? Since this video is almost 17 minutes long, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and break it up in parts, and then we'll go over this in the second part of this video, in the next part of this video. All right. Thank you for checking out this video. I will see you in the next one. All right.